Hello, everybody. There am I again. I hope you had a beautiful day today. As you might have seen, if you are watching the stream after my previous streams, I have a little bit changed. I have a little bit changed overlay. Spent some time on Sunday. I was like, hey, there is some stuff that I want to do with my overlay, and yeah, then I started to add few little things to my overlay, change some fade outs here and there, and then the whole day was gone. It was happening so fast. I was really surprised how fast time flies by when you're just trying to add a little bit to your stream overlays and trying to change little things, improve little things. Now I have the camera at a new position. I don't know if I'll even like it, but I will just try it out. I think sometimes change is good, and in the end I will maybe get sick of this position after some streams again and maybe try out a new position. Well, it's not that important because this stream is not about the overlay or about me. My primary goal is still to show how games are made, how the time is spent, and for the people also who are watching the VODs afterwards, to see how much time is spent in each phase of the development. And I've been starting to upload my videos to YouTube. And so I've created a channel for that. I didn't do that before. I had that on my list a long time ago, but I didn't do it so fast. So now I have to spend some time to upload the first videos. Now it takes a lot of time to upload the videos, and I have to wait until they are downloaded. So it's not completed yet, but I've started to add the thumbnail, make my first descriptions, and think about what text you add, and a lot of time just flies by so fast. And this is why I've not been streaming yesterday, which is very unfortunately, because on Sunday I can spend 8 hours in a row, and that is very important for the development time. So I was really a little bit sad about that, but then I was sitting here at 23 o'clock, and I was just getting ready to stream, and I said to myself, okay, now the whole day is gone, and I've done the overlay. I guess that's it for today. So where are we going to work today? Let's take a look. Okay, now you can see in Unity here. Let's see what map we are on. Yes, we are in the testing level, and we've been making some tests. All right. I think we stopped here with these torches, and we want today to test bloom effects. So why am I here in this area? This is because the camera has a light attached to it, which is unusual. So this is a little bit hard to test with. So the first thing that I want to do here is I want to test if it might be better to use Vignette instead of having a light attached to this camera. Now I did this camera here has a light attached to it. Let's find the camera first. I should also not talk too fast. Something that I really want to improve upon, and sometimes I'm talking too fast, and that makes me, because I'm not a native English speaker, that makes me very prone to making mistakes while I'm trying to articulate. And if you speak more slowly, especially in development, it gives you more chances to articulate precisely and think about what you're saying. And since in game development you have to try to say as least as possible, but as precise as possible. This is not something that is against it. On the other side, I have a lot of dogs, and I often I often try to just give the viewer an idea of what I'm thinking, and that ends up often with my intent to speak as fast as possible, just to give him an idea of what I'm talking about. However, I'm one of the guys who believe that you can't speak as fast as you can think. It's something my sister, for example, says that she says what she's thinking, which is a very interesting idea. Like, she's in her opinion, it's if you're bold, you just say what you're thinking, and for me, it's like I couldn't say what I'm thinking because my most of my thoughts are not in words, and I think words are very inefficient in a way of thinking. Because if you're thinking in math or in pictures, and I do that, to summarize those things and try to match them with words, it's very, very hard. Now we have to learn the ability to do that nonetheless, because we are humans and we need to communicate if we want or not. And that's the way we live. So I found the camera here, and on the camera here we have this point like. This point like is giving the player liked. So how does it work? The camera is always following the player, and when the player goes anywhere, if he moves right, the camera will move with the player. So in a game it would be like this. Now I've selected the camera and the player. This is how this essentially works. And you can see in this camera preview here. Can we make this bigger? I don't think we can make this bigger. Oh, we don't have any control over it. This is a little bit unfortunate. Can you go back to your normal position? Yes. Okay. Now we can see, kind of guess here in this camera view what the user would likely to see. Now this camera view is not true though, because you can see in this camera view the heart is cut off, and in the game, this is the game preview. This is how it would look. This heart is not cut off, so something is wrong about that. But if you see, if I change this position here, this is how the player is, how you are experiencing it, and this is what's really happening. Yeah. So let's change it for no reason at all. No, the real reason is, as I explained, we now want to find out if is this even a good approach. So there's a global lightning. Let's find that. And the global lightning, it's just sitting in the root here. Not too sure if that is a good idea. It might be better to put this into map art. Let's drag this down. Let's drag this down to the bottom. So because we are going to work with the global light a lot now, and let's put the intensity to 1. Now what is going to happen is, because this intensity will add up with the player, everything here in the middle will be white, everything else will look normal. Now you see the level is just looking normal, but the player is white. If you would play the game, it would look like this. Yeah. Why? Because now these two lights add up. Now we can just disable this light. And now this is how the game would look without lightning. And just global lightning, which is lightning. Let's test it out. And you immediately see that somehow there's some kind of illusion lost there. Let's put this to maximized, but I already think this is looking much worse, because you see the 2D flatness much more when you don't have this kind of effect. So, okay, now let's try to add a vignette. What is a vignette is, instead of having a light attached to the camera, you can add a vignette effect, which is going to just darken the area around the camera, just like you would do with the point light, but it's not a light attached to the camera, it's a darkness cast to everything else. So it's the opposite of effect of what we are doing. And the biggest benefit is it's more cost efficient for our resources. So how are we going to do this? I don't know, actually. I will have now I will have to look up how to add a vignette. And I don't know this. So here we go. Google. Unity 2D Universal Rendering Pipeline, which is the rendering pipeline that we are using. Vignette effect. And let's look that up. So there's videos, but we just want to look at the API and see where we can find it. Post-processing, effectless vignette. To add a vignette to a volume. So, and first of all, this is the API that we are using. We want to go to the last version because we are always updating our project and using the last version. And can we make this into dark mode though? That's the only thing that's not good about this side. Not automatically in dark mode. Let's look it up. Unity docs dark mode. Now I'm getting distracted. Dark version of documentation, please. Check out user stuff dark. And I just straight up use dark mode wherever I can. I put a lot of effort into it because I myself I get a headache from too much brightness, and real headache since I'm a little child. I think my brain is just getting overstimulated by too much light, and then has its neural network is going into circles and doing weird things that it is not supposed to do. So yeah, I don't see a very fast way to do it. Preferences? I don't think. Oh, okay. So this is come on, let's install this. Stylish. Probably shouldn't do this. I got the feeling like this will add a lot of ads. Start browsing with styles. Okay, I sign in. I'm not going to do this on stream. And it immediately asked me for a subscription fee. One style for guests, free for registers. Okay. Yeah, I've now installed this theme, and oh no, I think it's not up to date, and now can't see certain things. I guess we have to uninstall it again. Let me update this one more time. Yep. So this theme seems to be broken, and we just wasted time. But nonetheless, as I said, we are most likely going to waste our time here. So what is this saying? Yes, I have this. Can you please make this work? Probably. No, it's not working. Okay. Try this style. Oh, this one's better. Okay, now it seems to work. Oh, they add up on top of each other. That could be a problem. Yeah, this one is broken. So this one is broken. Can I get rid of it? No. Yeah, okay. They are all not working probably. I can only have 3 styles because this is not a subscribed version. And if I want to have more styles, I have to download more. No, I have to pay the money, and yeah, I'm not going to pay money just for a theme. No, thank you. So no, let's just disable this. So this is let's remove this plugin. Okay. Now after hey, it looked okay in the end, but whatever. I think it's not working with the newest version, and yeah, I think they are not updating it fast enough. The style they are not updating the style fast enough, so can't keep up with these changes on the documentation. Nonetheless, we can now start reading the API. In the scene or hierarchy view, select a game object that contains a volume or component to view it in the inspector. Select a game object that contains a volume component, so that on the camera. No, I don't think so. Here are some volumes. I'm not sure. This is not a component. This is not a component. Is it 2D like the volume? It's volumetric. Let's see what exactly a volume is. The Universal Rendering Pipeline, URP, uses the volume framework. Volumes can override or extend scene properties depending on the camera position relative to each volume. URP uses the volume framework for post-processing effects. Let me first think about that before I go on. So they do something with the scene properties. Don't understand yet with the given information. and it has to do something with the camera relative to each volume. This might be, most likely is why each light has this volumetric property on them. And this also does something with post-processing. This is the only thing that we can assume from this. URP implements dedicated game objects for volumes. Global volume, box volume, sphere volume, convex mesh volume. I think these are different type of lightnings. The volume component contains the mount property that defines whether the volume is global or local. Yeah, I think volumes are lightnings then. So I'm not sure how to do that. In the inspector, navigate to add override post-processing and click vignette. Let's search for volume here. Will we see something? Yes, global volume. Interesting. Add override. I think we will find a vignette here. Vignette. Ah, there it is. That was fast. Now we see that it is actually affecting everything at once. This would be nice for a kind of adventure game where you can't see what else is waiting for you in the darkness. That shouldn't be rounded. Oh. Now the biggest problem with this is also affecting our UI, and we can't have that. I think that there will be a way how to not affect the UI eventually. Let's just straight up test it and see how it looks. Holy shit, these torches are loud. I don't remember them being so loud. Or is my volume set to 100? Oh, it's okay. My headset is set to 100. Okay. Now let's maybe shoot something. Okay. Now, yet the vignette is far inferior, but we are still not done yet. We have to see. Yeah, this is the vignette property in the hierarchy. We have to find out how to not affect the UI. So maybe this will be with this channel mixer. No, it's red, green, blue. Do we have any control over layers though? Oh, lens distortion is also very interesting. I don't know what about color grading, what we think about color grading and chromatic aberration. We also should should set high quality filtering to disabled. High quality filtering. Okay, there's a difference between those two. Don't see any difference in the game though. Okay, interesting though. Interesting though. The vignette is now added to my whole view. Also kind of annoying. So I don't know about this. So first I'm going to write down something to my to-do list. So to-do list, and now we'll add a new task. Here at the end, lightning settings. If we set the high quality for if we set lightning effects to off, we have to disable also this checker here. Okay, I hope I will read this someday and then apply this immediately. The 10-minute task, but we want to apply bloom effects now, and we are going to process on this and not going to be distracted any further. Let's try out a chromatic aberration and see what that is. Just going through the recommendations here by Unity. So this would be nice for if we can set this with a script, we can when the player is going into bloodlust, we can actually distort his view with this. So there's not right now there's a bloodlust effect, and then we could set this with the script to 1 and back. So if you, because the bloodlust right now is a very strong mechanic. Let's see how it would look. It's when you are fighting and you dealt a lot of damage or get dealt a lot of damage too, then you are falling into bloodlust and it has certain effects. You're losing blood and can end this with biting someone and drinking their blood. Let's see what it does. Yeah, it would then just distort your view a little bit for a short second. Could be a nice idea. So let's just add it here. Let's make maybe field here. Global volume effects. And then say chromatic aberration and going into bloodlust. Okay. So yeah, okay, that would be nice. effect. Now color grading. I think color grading is what we don't want to do. And we actually don't have the possibility to pick this even up. No. Maybe grading? No. So I'm reading in the API right now. The next thing here is color grading. I can't find it. But let's see what it is supposed to do. I think this is shifting. Yes, this is shifting your colors, and we don't simply just don't want to do this. Now, color grading is kind of strong though, but I don't want to do this right now. Lens distortion. Okay, the last thing that we want to look up here was lens distortion. Okay, yes, of course. Would be nice. Let's see what it does. Ooh. Okay, so lens distortion. Now unfortunately this only works with the camera. So it would be nice to have this being spawned in at certain objects. So to have an object, for example, create a black hole like this would be really nice. Now this would also be nice for like this. Let's stop the vignette. We don't overdo this. Oh no, okay, we can't put this to a positive value. Don't put this to a positive value, it will look janky. Let's hit play. Let's hit play and see how it looks. I think, I'm not sure if this preview here is right, but it seems like, yes. What's happening here is, ooh, this is very interesting. And what's happening here at the side of the camera, here, this would not be rendered. Okay, so we also have this lens effect. Okay, now we will also add this to the list, and I will do a short break because I need to go to the bathroom real quick. So be right back very fast. It seems like I need to adjust this cooldown, countdown a little bit. I thought I would be faster. Well, so we could do this for Bloodlust, but I think this is superior because if I wanted to do Bloodlust, I would like the player to be in the center, like this. Yeah. And like now that wouldn't be the case. We have this X multiplier. What is this? You can with this you can say don't do this on the X axis. Now it's only doing this on the Y axis. Okay. And this is like some kind of mirror. And we can adjust the center. With this we could make a black hole at some kind at some position. We still have to find out how to affect not to affect the UI. You could scale in and do this distortion, but okay. I think this is not really an option. Let's center it again, and then you would have to also zoom in if you're doing this. You would have to zoom in a little bit. Then it's going back, and then you're zooming back. Okay. Let's not add this. Let's actually remove it. I can. Oh yeah, we can add tint to bloom effects. I think it would be nice in the bloodlust later to maybe have some kind of reddish color or something. It's just when in bloodlust add some red filter with a question mark. I think that would be nice. Okay, but it will not be done for the next patch. It's just something that we just are trying to find out right now. So 2D vignette effect. Not affecting UI. We don't want to affect the UI. Can we do this? Stop post-processing effects on UI. Okay. Basically, previously my canvas was set up like this, with rendering mode set to screen space camera. I simply change it to screen space overlay, and the blue is removed. So I don't like this solution because it basically removes the possibility to use this mode, and I want to use this mode for the camera. And I had a lot of thought process behind it, and now to just skip this would come with some unsolved problems. So what is he doing? He's calling and this guy is creating a second camera. Okay. Okay, he's using a second camera. And actually we should do this. He's using a second camera, and on that camera, post-processing is disabled. And then he uses this camera only for the UI. Okay, I get that. That's a good idea. So let's just simply do this. Let's go in here and add a second camera and call this the UI camera. Okay, so cannot call this the main camera. Let's give this the UI tag. Now I'm going to look at my second screen. Remove all scripts and the audio listener. I don't want to have this audio listener. Let's disable this script for now. I'm not sure why we need this. It looks like we will need this, so I'm going to enable this for now. And render type overlay. Okay, now uncheck post-processing. Yeah, it's not checked. Set the UI camera as a child of the main camera. Yes. Set the UI camera as the source of the canvas in the screen space. Okay, let's do that. So this player UI is using the UI cam now, and we immediately see that it disappeared. Okay, let's keep on working on this then first before we add in more UI objects and see if we can make this work. Add the UI camera to the stack in the main camera. What? Okay, there's a stack. Oh, there's a stack. Oi. What did that do? What the? Let's reset the position. Okay, it okay, this was, it changed its Z position for some reason. I don't understand why. Let's just hit play and see if the UI is now not being affected by bloom effects, which it previously was. And I think it looks like it is, but there's also some weird bug going on here, which is not looking good. I mean, it looks kind of funny. Not sure what that was. Okay. I can't see the main menu now. So this is really weird that I couldn't see the main menu. Maybe I can use the other camera for that. Aside from this, yeah, really weird what happened there. Let's see if I now can open the menu. Now it's working normally, but I still have this bug here. that I see a line that is pointing to this boss picker. And I have no idea how this can happen. It's like, hey, pick me up before I go. Oh. I think it's pointing to the camera, not the player. This is a really weird bug. This is something really weird. If you look at this chalice, it now is displaying, is always pointing with the blood to the player. So the player now has some kind of gravity field that is dragging in effects. Very, very weird. I mean, it looks cool for this blood chalice actually. To have it point to the player, like it's wanting me. You see? See this? This is actually a
James
very cool.
Foward. Does the particle effect have a target?
Hi, James Forward. It does not have a target. I think this is because of the volumetric effects that I did set, and not because of the particle system. But we can look it up. So here in the normal scene view, we don't see the effect that we see inside of the camera. I think the particle system of this is working just fine. And it would be really weird if this would be broken now, just like the other effect that I don't find right now. And we only see this in the camera. I think this is because we added here some effects. No, that is also not the case. Let's deactivate chromatic aberration first. Okay, that didn't change anything. Okay, let's look for a target here. So where is the particle system? I think it's on this glow particle. No, this is glowing. Here's the particle system that is spawning in all those little drops. And I didn't set a target. Now, actually don't know where to even look for the target. No, but I don't see anything that would pull it to the player. I'm very sure that this has something to do with how we did it in the camera. Let me look at something else. Maybe this is in the wrong layer. No, they are in the right layer. They're just in the default layer. So that's also not it. So what is going on? So the first thing is, you see here it is looking way different. The drops have a different position than in this instance. And this tells us that this has to do something with the camera. We can rule out that it has to do something with the particle system, and it would be really weird if both particle system would break at once and have a display a weird behavior when we are changing the cameras. So first I'm going to put this camera to -10 and look what happens. Okay, This only changed our field of view, which is not what we want. I'm still learning how the cameras will behave, to be honest. And I'm absolutely surprised by this behavior. So it might be because this camera is not set to orthographic. And we immediately see that now the behavior in this certain particle system has changed. I think it is because the particle system here, let's look at to it in 3D, is actually, it's actually dropping. I don't think it's dropping to the player, but it's dropping in 3D. Yeah, I must have set this up to be a cone, to use a cone, which is not the recommended way, and I wouldn't recommend doing this this way. But this is a very old object, and this is how I did things back then. And in 2D, it doesn't matter too much. It works, so yeah, don't worry about that too much. Okay, so we can fix how the particle system looks. We still have to keep more testing, to keep testing, because I want to see if the first particle is still broken. And now it should point to me. Okay, it points to me. And what is going on here? If we look in this first, let's scroll over here to this object. This is how the object is supposed to look, and I think it's also using a cone. And since this cone is hitting the camera, it seems like the camera is trying to render this like it would go to the center of the player, which is not correct. And once your camera is far away, this will not render anymore. So in theory, so if I would place the player more to the left, let's try to do that. Let's place the player here at the edge of this level. Now we shouldn't see this effect. Okay, it looks like we are still in the bounds. I'm a little bit surprised because this is the camera. And we see the position seems to have changed a little bit, but there's also something else that is a little bit weird, and that is that my mouse position is not the position of my cursor in game. It's really something that I did not actually expect to happen. Normally it is exactly the same. So how do we fix this? Yeah, just set this to orthographic. And now both of these issues should be fixed. Let's try to test this out. Okay, now we have fixed the particle system, but the aiming is off. We see that the aiming is now, if I put the aim outside of the bounds here, now we can't see where we are aiming at. That's very bad. Now, how do we change this? I don't have any idea. I also don't know why this is happening. I still want to try to put this to -10, so they won't have the same position. It shouldn't work. It should work. Yeah, of course it didn't work because it has the same Z position as the camera, because since this is a child. You can give it the same size, as the main camera. Just try to match all the values in here. Let's look for the volumetric. The volumetric settings. Here they are. They look like they are the same. Yeah, they are the same. The rendering settings are a little bit different. I think it is because this is an overlay camera. Okay, so let's try to find out how this camera is behaving now. Okay, now the position of my aim is exactly as the same as my mouse. Fortunately, it's the update is happening after I move the mouse in Windows, which means the aim is still a little bit off. So since the aim here is always one frame behind, what can we do about this? We could put this function into the fixed update, but that shouldn't do much. No, I think it is because Windows is rendering my mouse faster than Unity is rendering my cursor here. That is why the cursor of the character, it's very hard to see in the stream, I guess. But the cursor of the game is not following my mouse in each frame. It seems to be always one frame behind. We have to test this out in the game later, if this is an issue or not. So let's add this to this list. Check if mouse aim has delay in brackets. Mouse is one frame, at least one frame is one frame slower than Windows or operating system mouse. Do it in late update. Now you should, I think you should do it in the update. Let's take a look. You are saying that. I think you should do it in update. So the I think update is called when with each frame. Let's see. Unity update system. Since I don't want to say anything wrong and make any wrong assumption. Okay, this is the wrong update. Update, come on. Update, fixed, update, late date. I think there was something in the API that would tell us when to use what. Okay, let's read update first. Update is called every frame if mono behavior is enabled. Update is the most commonly used function to implement any kind of game script. Not every game mono behavior script needs update. Okay, this doesn't tell us if update is called, and what happens in here will happen before the frame is updated or after. It just say is called every frame, which doesn't tell us everything. This link. Okay, let's look into the order. So first comes fixed update, and we don't want fixed update will be wrong. So as you can see, fixed update here is used for physics, and we don't need to use fixed update because fixed update is called in between frames, which could mean we are changing the mouse position 3 times, and then we display the next frame. And now you click. Now the problem would be that, as you can see here, input events happen after fixed update. So yeah, as I said, you should only do the physics like velocity or something, or collision checks here in fixed update. Now update. Update in late update are both done before the scene renders. So if we do this in the update function, it should not be different than if we do this in late update, I think. I don't see any reason why we should put this in late update yet. Now there's also no reason why we have to do this in update. Both would be right. But if we put this in update, and it should be the same as if we do this in late update. Humor me. Yeah. But well, it was a nice guess. So in my head, it is like, I just think Windows is updating my mouse faster because Windows has more resources, and here in the game it's just lagging behind. But the thing is, if you're the player inside the game, first of all, the editor here is taking a lot of resources, and this is why the editor will not have as many resources as the Windows mouse. The Windows mouse just is updating faster here. This is what is happening. So yeah, I will still test it later, but I don't think that it is a problem. And what I have confirmed in tests so far is that what you are aiming at, what is displaced here, what you're aiming at is also what you get if you click then. So at least you're not shooting somewhere and the game is telling you you are aiming at a different position. So the aiming is not that off. We just have to check if we can do better. And going through the gameplay logic, we're just fine. Okay, now enough talk about that. I want to check if we are actually applying our bloom effect to the UI at the moment. So what we can do here is just put down this threshold, and we can immediately see through this what is affected by the bloom effect. And this tells me immediately that the UI, you see that it is blooming, is still affected by the bloom effect. So let's reverse this and see and look into this camera here. So our goal is to not use the same settings as for the main camera, for this camera, and then put the whole UI on it. So the UI is not affected by blooming or something else. Even though I think the bloom on the UI here is adding a nice little effect, it's not looking bad at all. Look into that. I think it's kind of looking okay. Here we don't have any effects, but if we would distort the view, if we would play more effects, they would be added on top of our UI here, and we don't want this. So if we don't use any effects on the post-processing or not, we want this second camera and have every UI object on it, just to make sure that we are in control of what we want to effect with effects or not. If we don't do this, it could make us influence us and push us into a position where we just don't use some effects, because then we are just, oh, then I have to add this camera and later I have to switch everything around in the scene. That I'm too lazy for that. I just say I'm too lazy to do this in every level again and again. If I change it every time, then I will just hesitate to use certain effects. So to go around this, and let's just set this up very, very well, like you would do this for a AAA game, and then we can just call it a. Oh, okay. In AAA games, in the end, they also wash their games often enough. I've seen that happen again and again, but let's not comment that any further. So, I'm still following this guideline here. So let's see what's happening next. Uncheck UI from the main camera's culling mask. Okay, so this has a culling mask. Here. So we unchecked UI. And now we will do this for this culling mask reversed and only put the UI inside. Let's see if the bloom effect now disappeared from the UI. No, didn't. I think it is because both are using the global volume profile. So where did we put that in? Now, I'm still a little bit surprised that post-processing enabled effects these objects here. And they are all on the UI layer. Let me see if this culling mask is layers or tags. And I think this is layers. Yes, I think this is layers. Yeah, these are layers. And at least when it comes to layers, each of these objects here seem to have been set up correctly. Sorry. Now there are bones, but we don't see them. This shouldn't affect the camera at all. And just to make sure, I think we can just say change all this its children who have the UI layer. Now we shouldn't see any effects, UI effects, room effects on this heart, but we still see them. So let me go through the description again. So UI camera, uncheck post processing is unchecked. Now I wanted to see where this is used. I think the UI is camera is also using this global volume. Oh, okay. Now if we set this to local, and I didn't know this, I think if we set this to local, we can maybe make a black hole. Let's try to do this first before I go any further. because this would be a really nice effect later to add in the game. Just to add some distortion to maybe explosions very fast. This would be really nice. So let's just use a local volume here and add an override. Lens distortion. Let's make sure that this transform is here. Okay. Or can I add a lens distortion? No, I think it needs a camera. Let's add a sphere collider with a big radius. But unfortunately, it seems that it is affecting the camera then. And the override has been added to the global volume profile. I want to remove this. I think then we would need to create a new volume for local volume profiles. So where do we have that? That's a good question. Oh, that's a shader graph. This shouldn't do anything. And if I don't find this here, I can probably Google that up. Volume profile. Okay, I found it. Local. Let's just for testing say local distortion, because this is what I'm interested in, and say this should add lens distortion, and let's add it in here. Can we use this profile? Yes, we can. And then let's add this lens distortion. Okay, we're not seeing anything there. Also not in the camera. So I'm not quite sure how this is supposed to work. Let me see where this would be. It would be here. Let's just pass this object here and see if this does anything. Hello, Pro GMTX. How are you doing? I'm fine, by the way. Okay. Now I can't control the character, which is okay, I just can't use the keyboard. I'm fine. That's nice to hear. I've been trying to work a lot on my game so far, and yeah, I'm making a lot of progress. When I'm streaming in the hours, progress feels really slow. Like I'm just getting 1 or 2 tasks done every day, if at all. Sometimes I'm stuck at some task, but I've been streaming for nearly 40 days now, and looking back, there's a lot of things that have happened. So very interesting. I'm also downloading the VODs at the moment. I haven't downloaded them all yet because it just takes a lot of time, and it's really nice to see how you progress over time. Something that I really didn't expect to be seeing. Okay. And now here I am trying to add some really nice effects to the game and make it as polished as possible. So let's Google up add local lens distortion unity. How do we do this? Or what is why can this even be local? Unity, volume, local, volumes. So local allows you to specify boundaries for the volume so that the volume only affects cameras inside inside the boundaries. Add a collider to the volume's game object and use that to set the boundaries. Okay, so we have added a collider. We have set it to a position, but it's not currently affecting the camera. So let's put the Z position to the same position as the camera and see if it works then. Doesn't. And that's Beer Collider. Let's go to the game. Look into 3D for a moment. And go to this global volume. Okay, we see the camera is there. Where's the camera? Camera is here. And the global volume is not touching the camera right now, which is surprising me quite a bit. Now let's increase the size of this volume and make it just ridiculously big. This should definitely touch the camera. See if something happened. Yes, something happened. Okay, but it's affecting the whole camera, which is not good. So we have now proven that it works. You did much, bro. Thank you. I really wish I had more time to finish the game as much as I can. Also, so many people are visiting the stream, and I just wish that I sometimes could just say thank you and go by and watch their streams or help them somehow. It just means something to me if people come by and watch and sometimes do nice comment. Really keeps me going. But in the end, I have to take care that I can finish the game in a certain amount of time. Okay, just like I'm trying right now. I will try to play the game, but not on maximized. And try to play with these values a little bit. And what happens if I'm going through the game and pass the local volume? Okay, we can see it immediately affects the whole camera. And this is not what we want. This is kind of scary. Okay, so the local global volume is completely useless for me. Yeah, completely useless, because why would I ever use this? If it affects the whole camera. The only thing that would be interesting is to use another center, then have this maybe have a different scale. Let's make the last test before I remove this local volume, because it really looks like it's not what I want at all. It's just as I said. Let's try to play with these values here. And still, we don't want this to affect everything. Yeah. This is useless. Now we could say we want a black hole to be at this position here. Now now we have a black hole here, for example. Yeah, that would be possible, but we would have to calculate this center with some script. make and then it would still stretch the whole camera, and you might just want to have a small fraction of the time map being affected by this. And I know that we can do this with the shader graph too, and it might be easier to do this with the shader graph. Really unfortunate, but we will not use local volumes then. Better don't do that. Yeah, just testing out, trying to get ideas. I wanted to couple this effect with an explosion, like, you know, explosions can look really nice if you have a small distortion with them. Would have been a good idea. Just try it out, make your game more polished. Yes, absolutely. But like this, like what we have now, no. We can do this with the shader graph. It is very complicated though. So I would have been thankful if there would be an easy way around this. So the only way we can use lens distortion is to add this to the whole camera, and I don't want this. Now I still have to see to make sure the UI here is affected by the bloom, and I don't want the UI ever to bloom. No matter my motivation, I could also make this red. Like if you're going into bloodlust, I can now make everything like in a red tint and make it look really dangerous to make sure that the player knows he's now in a different mode. So I think I already added a task like that, okay, to polish the game even further. Okay, so we are still slacking off here. Still not doing what we are supposed to do. Let's try to make this camera work with another global setting. No. I think we can't use another global setting for this camera. So what we do then? We have disabled the post-processing on this camera, and it's the only camera that is rendering the UI. So I'm a little bit surprised that this is actually applying bloom effect, since this is not using post-processing. Let's just disable any toggle that we have here and see what happens. Still nothing. Volumes. There we have it. Use pipeline scripting every frame. No, we can set this to nothing. Now it works. Now it actually works. Yes. Now the UI is actually unaffected by bloom effect. Okay, that's interesting. Let's play. And now the UI. Let's take a look how the UI is looking without any bloom at all. Yeah, it's looking just fine. Now you could artistically maybe argue that the UI here is even looking better with bloom. I think it looks very interesting with bloom. Not gonna lie there. But it was not, the bloom was never intended. And just as I said, now we have the control over it to specifically say we want bloom or we don't want bloom. And that is always better than just to add things on top of each other just because it looks good, but having no idea how to control them and actually also not having any control over them because you just trying to add a lot of things and are lazy with your settings. And then in the end, you get a result that you didn't want and cannot change because you don't have any control. You never added the option to control your look. That is not good. Okay. So we now have not applied bloom. We have removed bloom for this stream. This is this is a little bit contradicts a little bit with the stream title because it says let's add bloom. It was all a bait. It was all a bait. I baited you in that one. Ha 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 ha. Okay. What I'm going to do next is set every UI element to use this UI camera in the test level. Now also will add a task here. Set UI elements in each level to use UI camera. Now I should be able to do this, but make this UI element into a prefab and then set the elements inside. And I actually did make this UI into a prefab, and then I did different things in different levels, and it broke, and I had to remove this. And this is a big weakness of the game right now, that this UI is not one big prefab where you set elements, and I have to do this in every level. Kind of hurts that that's not how it's supposed to be done. And that's spam. So we close my emails. There's nothing private to see there, truly my emails, but I don't want to any weird spam message to pop up during my stream. You know they post you some nasty stuff, and yeah, that is not good during your stream. Okay. Now let's go on. So I now have made sure that every UI element is using this UI camera. Did I? Now, what should not use the UI camera is this background manager. That's correct. Managing the background. It's also very interesting. Now we can actually use the distortion, for example, only on the background, or have some elements on the background. This gives you new ideas. How does the background look? This is how the background look. Now you could make it with these settings that we now have. Make so that you add a camera, and then use with the camera to a certain Z position, and then add a local volume that is only affecting that Z position, and use some effect like have this shift like this. It wouldn't make any sense with backgrounds. Have vignette with the background. Like I said, this is also not making any much sense with the background. And then you can also use this lens distortion. This actually makes sense with the background. Now it's not doing anything because I'm trying to show something. Thank you. Hello, lens distortion. Can you show up? No? Oh, I think it's only showing up here in the game. So to see how it would look like, I need to put the camera somewhere else. So let's put the camera over here, and then let's see how some distortion on the background only would look like. Put this to 1 first. And Yeah, I think this is also useless for now. Except, yes, this could be really interesting. Now, okay, this could be interesting because imagine if you would go into Bloodlust and we would put the intensity from 0 to -1 and back. Now it would pulse behind you. But we will not do it now. It will not work. It will still look weird because most of the time you only you have this you have tiles as a background. Now this is at test level and it doesn't use too many weird tiles, but you would see the background, for example, here, and then only this background would have this lens distortion on it. It would, and that would look a little bit off. I think it would look a little bit off if only the background here would pulse. And in some areas where you don't see background at all because you are inside of a castle or something, and you don't see this in the background, it would be kind of weird for the player. Sometimes you see this effect in the background and sometimes you don't. So let's not do it. Okay. So let's call it a day with these effects. Test vignette. Okay, so the biggest benefit of the vignette that I see right now is the vignette is actually always displayed where we are trying to view the camera right now. So it's moving with our current view. That's nice. Now we can increase the intensity. We want this to be really smooth though. Like this, for example. I think this is a nice effect. Put the camera back to the player. Just to have the backgrounds next to him. And it's on the wrong Z position. The Z position, the camera is set to be -10. Something that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes when objects don't show up in 2D, they are behind the camera. Yeah, it's as simple as that. Okay, now we have this vignette effect. And it is, to be honest, the same effect as if we do this with the point light on the camera. So now the only thing that is a little bit better, doesn't add up with this like 2D here. And aside from that, it's exactly the same. On the player is also, I think player was too bright before. Now he's in a nice in a nice lighting setting. That's okay. But I think I will use the light because I'm not too happy with these controls right here. I think the vignette effect, if you scale this down, it's not enough. I want this to be really bright, and then slowly fade out. And I don't have the options here to do that. I could make it like this, but it's not quite the same. You don't have the same level of control here as with the 2D light on the camera. So I will remove this, and a lot of people can call me dumb for this because every tutorial tells you to use the Gnet on the camera. It's more efficient for the resources, but this is also just one light. One light is not that bad, and then you just put this intensity down, and now this one light is lightening your scene. The only problem that you have here, if you edit your level, yeah, okay, you have to turn off the lightning. That is the only thing that is not so well done with this global lightning. Aside from this, I actually think it's much better because I can now control with this 2D light on the camera here. I can control the inner radius, the outer radius, the fallout strength, the intensity. I just have more options, and that is nice. So can I squish this down? No. How can I squish this so that this is so that this is maybe an oval instead of a circle? Can I do that? Hot reform sprite global. So we could use a sprite for this. Let's use the sprite and see. Let's just randomly put something silly in here. Let's use this rock as the lightning. We immediately see that it doesn't make any sense. Oh, then we can actually stretch it. Now the rotation is weirdly set off, which doesn't add anything. And you could actually just use a mask here that is slowly fading into its center to make this light mid-light, and just have a mask over the player. So you can actually do this. You can actually also do a freeform, but the freeform will always be in the polygon shape, which is not what we want. And then there's global. So let's use spot one more time. Okay, now I can change the angle, which yeah, is not so interesting for us now. I mean, this could be nice for some kind of Solid Snake game, Metal Gear Solid game, yeah. And it's not an option for us. And we don't want to target the UI, because the UI should do its own thing. Yeah, and I generally think even with the option that we have here, this is just better. This is just way better than using another system. Now, if you look into the game, it's more looking like it's sniped. Yeah, that's it. Nothing to add here. So what next? Now we want to actually apply some bloom effects. So let's look at the sub-step to-do list and pick the first task and make the shaderware for this. And then this will be the last task of the day. Now we'll actually put in my last tea for the day. Okay, I still have some tea left in my can. So I lied there. This is not the last tea, but soon. Apply bloom to torch effects. Okay. We already have the shader, let's go. This is the torch that is using the bloom. So how do we do this so that every torch is using that shader? It's quite easy. Open this in isolation. This torch. It has a torch effect. And all we have to do is to change the material inside of here. That's everything we need. Let's search for torch. And we can then make this bloom in different colors. And this is actually the wrong kind of bloom. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to do this with the actual flame here. I'm really surprised that this is using the torch then. Now, what is this particle system? This particle system is this round circle that you see around this flame. We actually might not even need this particle system. So let's put this to not loop. And then we can put this material to torch. We also have to enable lightning. Okay, there's no light in the scene here, so it's not working. But if we now look at the game, let's see what happens. Now every torch should use the material that we have set up. Yes, and we see immediately that the torches are actually looking much brighter than they have before. And in the darkness here, when you're going outside your vision range and slightly outside your vision range, you can barely see anything. But torches they have their own lightning effect attached to them. This is why you generally see them glowing in the dark. Now there's two things that I want to change. First of all, I think with the current settings that the strength of the torch bloom is not strong enough. So let's go to the torch material. Put this game to normally. And let's try to crank up these values, these values, not values, until I think it looks right. And I want them to bloom a little bit when they are outside of your range, and really strong if you're next to them. Like, they are lightening up the darkness, but once you get close to them, they're really lightening up the darkness. Okay. I think that this is fine. You can see them from some distance. And when you get close, you see that the character generally is hit by the lightning that nearly looks like his hair is on fire. Oh, in the preview here, it is a little bit close, but yeah, it's okay. Now let's see if we can make changes to the actual torch lightning so it looks better in the dark. So we have this point light attached to it, and we have the script here, flicker, and there's some values that we can edit here. Let's try to look into the script. There's no comments, but it generally looks like at least the values are ordered. Let's add a comment here. So next time we will immediately see what it does. And let's also adjust the intensity. Let's look what the intensity does. So once you're falling, once you're this is hard. I think it's this says it has a range from the start intensity to the intensity now. So the maximum intensity that this can change is capped by this intensity adjust. It's also a very short script, so this will be easy. So I think this is more like intensity capping. Okay. Let's be more clear. Intensity adjustment cap. And now let's see what this random min does. This is adding a random value to the light source intensity, and the speed is actually, I think the speed is just 1. Is it the speed is a value that is set by the user. Okay, let's comment this. Speed is speed of lightning change. This cap is how much the lightning is changing at maximum, maximum or minimum, maximum. And then we have random minimum is the minimal lightning change per frame. yeah, frame. Okay. Times delta time. Okay. How do we make it so that I don't have to look this up in the script next time? Now I want for future projects code better. And for this, I want to be able to, if I go with my mouse over these values here, to be able to immediately read what this does. So Unity, I know that this is possible. This is why I have the idea. Variable mouse hover. Okay, there's a tutorial which is 40 minutes long, and this is horrible. Because this will be a one-liner like this, and yeah, I don't know how you can make a horrible tutorial with 40 minutes for one line. Yeah, thank you, Google. So let's see what happens if I hover about over speed with my mouse right now. And I want to see a tooltip come up. This is a great tooltip. Yay, it is actually. So yeah, sometimes you can either watch a 40-minute video, which will, I don't know what he's even doing. I'm a little bit interested in what the hell is this video about. How to add hovering tool tabs. I bet this is not about variables or something. Let's just close it. Maybe Google did not see that I was meaning C#. Maybe this is not talking about scripts, but in-game objects. Then it might be justified to make this 40 minutes long. I still think this should be a one-liner, so probably clickbait. Okay, now let's stop complaining about how horrible YouTube is, as I usually do, because it is. Let's add great tooltips. And yes, I think currently YouTube is a plague to society because it's clickbaiting little children, people who don't have much time, way too much, and wastes our time by trying to make us addicted to its clickbaits. And this is also why I always say I have removed YouTube thumbnails. So if I go to YouTube, this is all I see. I don't see any thumbnails because yeah, as I said, I think I just think that YouTube thumbnails are annoying, and you often get clickbaited into things that you actually did not want to see. So we still have to change the tooltips a little bit. The speed, how much the lighting is changing. The minimal lighting change per frame. And now we have these tooltips right here. Should pop up. And the compiler compiled just in time to finish another cup of tea. Okay, now let's see. I think it's taking the intensity amount from the start. Let's change that. So now all I want to do here is to make this flicker a little bit faster. Let's see what happens. Great. And now you can also see in the distance that they seem to be a little brighter. Because I thought it's a little bit off that the flames are looking a little bit are looking really dark in the dark. The flame, it's flames. They shouldn't look dark in the dark. They should lighten up the environment. Let's take a look when we are in this camera mode. If that's nice. Okay. This is too much. Now would be great if this would work, but once we are crossing multiple torches, you see this happening. This means we have too many effects at once on the character. And you just generally see him glowing in the torchlight. I don't think this is nice. This is too much bloom. At least on the character, yeah. So let's just reverse what I did here. And let's try intensity 0.4. Apply it to the prefab. So now every torch will use this. It's still too bright on the character. And we would like this to be really settled on the character. How do I do that? It's quite easy. I could easily just say, don't affect units. Now, apply this to torch effect, and the character won't look ugly. And I could put this to a much higher intensity that I originally did. Let's put this to the torch effect. Also, getting a little bit annoyed by these torch crystals. Let's disable all these torch crystals for now because they are they're distracting me. And let's apply that. So now the torch crystals will be off. So we can look at one torch at a time. Now what we see is that in the dark, these torches are really lighting up. And we even can see that the character is casting a shadow here. And if we stand close to the camera, here we can see that the light of the torch is really bright. We don't have too much lightning going on. It's really nice here. Now, what I can now do is, but this will cost a lot of processing power, so we will do this with a grain of salt, is add another light to the torch. Now you immediately see that the torches are just over the top, lightening up immediately. You see them glowing way too dark, too bright. It's affect nothing except for units. Now this will make the camera, these torches only affect the player. Now, as I said, it is affecting the player way too much. So let's put down the intensity to much more subtle value to 0.2. And also, I want this intensity cap to be 0.2, because 0.2 minus 0.3 would be a negative intensity value. What would happen if the value for your lightning is negative? Then red turns into blue. And that would make no sense at all. Because instead of adding red, you would subtract red. Okay, now you can see it looks like the character is slightly shining in this torchlight. And if we are here in 4 torches next to each other, we actually see that the character is affected in an ugly way. But in the game later on, there's a rule for me that I made for myself. Never have 2 torches next to each other. I only use them with a really, really far proximity. And that is just because torches use a lot of resources. And yeah, that's not always nice that they use a lot of resources. And we have to sometimes cap how many lightnings we use. I also have a script that turns off all the torches when I'm far away. So let's go far away. Let's see if in the scene now the lightnings are still glowing. No, they aren't. Why? What happened here is I turned off these lightnings here with the script, because light is actually using your system resources, and if the camera is too far away, we don't need the torch to be lighted up. So this is a way how to optimize your game. Okay, enough about that. Let's go ahead and think about, is this bloom nice or is it not nice? Here it's nice. But how could we rate that? Let's, for the last time, go to this torch effect. Now here at the side, I can control the torches. I'm playing in normally now. The only thing I want to do is to adjust the lightning. So let's try to make this as big as possible, but I can still on the fly change the bloom effect. And now my job is just to try the right values. I can add a lot of bloom. I can add nearly no bloom at all, or some bloom. This will make it that next to the character it will bloom, but far away not so much. I want to see something. Before I go on, I want to see what layer this is on. This is on the background layer. Let's see what kind of layers are affected by this light 2D, this background. So since this is on the background layer, it should be affected by the torch. If I put this to another layer, we shouldn't see anything. We shouldn't see any light on it. Should see a difference. It's weird. Let's take a look at this torch. Put it on another layer. Ah, here you see. When we put this to the enemy layer, it's glowing way less. Now put it on the background layer, and now it stopped. What? Try that again. Now it's very bright. Now it's not. If I put it back to background, I think it's just not updating. I'm not sure about that. That's a little bit weird. Let's put this to another layer. Restart. Oh. What the hell is happening here? Maybe it's this layer. Yeah, it's this layer. Let's put this to the background layer. This is now in the back. Can't see it now. Okay. Put it here. Ah, okay. Now, the problem was with these torches, they were in the layer that was not affected by the light of the torch itself. It's interesting. Now, the torch is a layer. I think the torch is in the layer 200 or something. And so we have to put this in layer 200. So it's in front of the torch. And then it will add up with the lightning. Let's apply this to every torch now. By saying apply this to torch effect and see what happens if we now press play. It should be way different because, as I said, the torches were not affected by their own lightning. And you immediately see that now all the torches are looking way brighter when you're seeing them in the dark. And now you can see from afar, oh, there's a lightning coming in the darkness. I think that has some nice style to it. Like you feel like the kind of safety that a castle would provide you when you come close to these lightning sources. And I think this is much better. Now when you're coming close to them, the bloom of the torches is still way stronger than at the edge where we only have the torchlight, but you don't see it that much actually. So if I look into that corner, yes, it's blooming less, but than this torch. But we only notice this. I only noticed this because I know. I think this torch here, it's looking quite wet-like, and this no. Now it looks even like it's white. This one looks like it's really a little bit of orange. Okay, let's play around a little bit more with the lightning. Now that I have added the lightning to the actual effect, so that they add each other up, we can make the torches bloom a little bit less or more, and this will change how they are affected in the game. So you can also be more subtle with the lightning, with the bloom. I think this is as much as we should go, at least. -4. Yeah, -4 looks Like you don't notice it too much. -2. Okay. Let's put this to 1. Let's look what happens if we change the color a little bit. We can change it to maybe some kind of red. And this kind of adds an outline. Let's give it 0, 0, green and blue, and just add a lot of red. See what happens. We now put out the intensity. Now this gives them a nice real torch feeling, because now the outside of the torch will glow red, but the center will glow in yellow, which is interesting. And if we put it more into the yellow space, it will be really, really bright. Will be really, really bright, but I don't think it's that nice. I think it's nicer to have it glow in just a really strong red, because the red will add up with the yellow. Now I'm maybe changing my mind soon. Never know. We can't change the bloom strength. It doesn't seem to do anything though. Which surprises me a little bit. I think it doesn't add up that well with the yellow part. So we can just play a little bit with these values. Okay. So the last ones are just where it tries to find its color. Okay, this doesn't change too much. So the only thing that we kind of can try to change is red or no red. Red or yellow. That is the only question that we have here. Red or yellow. So let me try to maximize this as much as I can. So with red, it looks like in the middle we really have one big flame, which is nice, but the bloom is weak. We really have a weak bloom here with the torches with red. However, let me try one more change before I decide what to do here. Is there a color over lifetime? Yes, there is. And the alpha value of them is actually very low. Oh, that's the wrong particle system though. Oopsie. So let's play this effect here. Where are you? Here. And the main problem that I had the whole time and didn't notice is the alpha value is not set to 255, which we actually needed. It also has color over lifetime. I think this overrides the setting. Okay, that is set to 255. And then fade out. Okay, that is okay. It's quite nice and fine. So now that I've put the main color to 255, I can try to get the torch material here. Because it's this one, yes. And as I said, the only thing that I can now change is, should this bloom in yellow or red? Yellow red, yellow, red, yellow, red, yellow, red. I'm a little bit surprised that it doesn't bloom in orange though. Maybe if I put this down. Ooh, interesting. If I put this to a really low value. Yeah, I shouldn't put the intensity too much up. Because I want to adjust the strength with this parameter. It's kind of hard to judge. Now, the problem is if I put it like this, it will look very natural. If I play it. This looked like a natural flame. But if I get close to it, I don't think it will bloom that much. So let's go side of here. No, I want this torch to be at the edge of the screen. Okay, now I need to find the torch material here. Okay, now what do I think? The good news first is this is looking very realistic. The bad news, it is not blooming that much. So let's play with putting up the bloom strength. Just as much as we can. No. So let's go down until we see it in the game to go down. Okay. So I think around 4 is where it's really adding up. But around 4, it's the flames will have a very, very, very strong gloom even in the dark. I want this to be a little bit less, like here, and we still see the red in the outlines. That is very, very nice. See what happens if we decrease the color strength. Okay, we can decrease the color strength and increase the bloom strength. Is that any better? Or is this essentially the same? I cannot really tell. But I think this is a really nice setting for the torches. Okay, let's play in maximized. I can put the inspector to my second screen and try to still edit in maximized. I'm not sure if this works though. Oh yeah, I should do this more often. This actually is stupid not to do this. Okay. I think it looks nice. I think they are a little bit too big. So let's decrease the size. Because now, looking at the torches, they look like they are so bright. Like the flame is so bright that I would expect it to burn the whole torch in a matter of minutes. And I think this is a little bit too unrealistic. So let's go and where do I have the inspector there? Okay, now I have to put the inspector back here. Come on. Add yourself to a space where it makes sense. Now okay, let's just reset the layout. Nice. Okay, now we reset the layout. I usually think this is a little bit too big. This is a little bit too big. I like to put them a little bit down here. I want to see 3 rows down here. Okay, and this, nice. I want torches now to become a little more small. First of all, I want this to loop again. And let's see how this looks if we hit play. This should just add a little bit of glow. Okay, we can kind of see it, that it has more glow, but also we do not see this very, very strong in normally. So we will have to test this in maximized again. And now let's try to decrease the size of the flame, the flame here. Now it does look okay in this preview, but we have seen that in the, it's also called this torch effect. No, flame particles. So I can actually understand what is happening here. Flame particles, torch glow particles. So this is something really important. So I can understand what I'm doing here. So, and I also want to decrease their size. I can just do it right here. Now the size of the flames will be nearly half as much. Let's see what happens if I now press play. Put the game to maximized. And the inspector, I will just drag it outside my window. And here I want to have the torch shader clicked so that I can, with the inspector on my second window, still edit in the game. I think I can drag the inspector right here so that you can see what I'm doing in stream. Yeah. And I think this looks way more realistic in this way. Now the torches are not too big. It doesn't look like they are destroying the torch source, which is just some wooden stick with some coal and some oil and substances on it, which I actually don't even know what about. Maybe some lab players will explain you what I just said there, how wrong that is, but we don't care about that one. We just want to at least try to make it a little bit realistic. And how it is looking right now, beautiful, beautiful. I think we could still go on and try to change even more things about these torches, but overall, I'm very happy with the look right now, and let's not try to overdo it. If we change it now, it might be that it backfires, and in the end, we say, "Oh no, I've totally lost my perspective at some point, and it was looking good. Why was I doing it even further?" Even though if you look at some pros, Bob Ross always did get going when you were saying like, oh, Bob Ross, now you have a nice drawing. I would stop drawing now because I would be scared to add more and more effects. And Bob Ross, he did the he just kept editing. Okay, now it is getting late, so I would say we have done the first torture effect. Thank you for joining the stream so far. This is it for today. So we have done some amazing and nice little torch effects. And I'm happy for everybody who joined so far. Tune in for the next time. I think I will definitely stream tomorrow. And big thank you for everybody who was showing up, just chatting a bit. Always nice to hear about that. And I'm going to end the stream right now, so I can get a little bit time off. And tomorrow I will keep streaming. Also, I will keep uploading the VODs to YouTube. As I said, it's not fully done yet, so don't complain about it. There's only 4 videos right now. It's also always taking a little bit of time until YouTube says it's ready with the upload, and you go through a lot of steps, and it's taking its time. So I guess I can only do this so fast while doing my other works, and yeah, so this will take some time until I have uploaded all of the nearly 40 watts now. Thank you so far. Tomorrow I'll be right back with more Bloom Effect. And see you back then. Have a good night. Bye.